Today, we are diving into a book that pretty much turned marketing on its head, Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising. It's legendary for a reason, and the core idea? It's simple, but it changes everything. Stop yelling about your product, and instead, listen to what's already going on inside your customer's mind.
So let's kick things off with a pretty wild idea, something that probably goes against every rule you've ever heard. What if the most effective ads, the ones that really work, don't even talk about the product, or the price, or even the main benefit? What if they start from a completely different place? That's the rabbit hole we're going down today.
All right, here's the game plan. We're going to start with the foundation, what Schwartz calls the one great desire. Then we'll look at the awareness spectrum, where your customer is on their journey. After that, we'll tackle the sophistication ladder for crowded markets, figure out how to build a big idea, and then, the final piece, making your ad valuable in itself.
Okay, let's get into the single most important rule in this entire book. Honestly, if you only remember one thing, this should be it. You cannot, under any circumstances, create public desire. It's impossible. All you can do, all the best marketers do, is find an existing desire and channel it.
And here's the key. The rule is to focus on just one single, powerful, dominant desire that's already out there, not a laundry list of cool features. You find that one deep-seated want and you aim all of your energy right there. That's where the real power is.
Schwartz gave this a name, mass desire. I want you to picture it like a massive, powerful river. It's already flowing with the hopes, the fears, the dreams of millions of people. Your job as a marketer isn't to try and dig a new river. That's way too hard. Your job is to simply build a little channel that directs some of that powerful current toward your solution.
All right, so we know this river of desire exists. The next huge question is, where exactly is your customer standing on the riverbank? This brings us to the awareness spectrum, which is just a brilliant way to figure out what message your audience is actually ready and willing to hear from you.
Schwartz breaks this down into 5 key stages. On one end, you've got someone who is completely unaware. They don't even realize they have a problem. And way over on the other end, you have the most aware, the person who knows your product and is just waiting for a good deal. It's pretty obvious you can't talk to these two people in the same way, right?
And this is such a critical distinction. For the person who's only problem aware, all they know is their pain. I feel stressed all the time. An ad for them has to tap into that feeling. But for the person who is solution aware, they've already made a connection. I've heard meditation apps can help stress. For them, you don't need to sell the idea of meditation. You need to sell your app. Totally different conversations.
Now this is where it gets really counterintuitive, especially for that unaware group. Look at these rules. Don't mention the price. Don't mention the product name. Don't even state the benefit directly. What do you do instead? You connect with them on a much deeper level. You echo a feeling they already have. You speak to their identity, or you just tell them a story that pulls them in. You're not selling anything yet. You're just starting a conversation.
Okay, so let's add another layer of complexity here. What happens when your market is, well, old? When your customer has been bombarded with ads for years and thinks they've heard it all before? This is where Schwartz's sophistication ladder comes in. It's a roadmap for how to talk to a market that's crowded and, frankly, a little cynical. See, as a market gets more crowded, your message has to get smarter. It has to evolve. If you're the very first person selling a weight loss pill, you can make a very simple claim. But as soon as competitors pop up, you have to start climbing this ladder to cut through the noise.
And here's what that looks like in action. It's brilliant. At stage 1, you can just be direct. Lose weight fast. But once everyone is saying that, it stops working. So you have to climb to stage 3 and introduce a new mechanism. You shift from what it does to how it does it. How this Japanese herb melts fat. That's new. But then everyone starts talking about their special herb. So you have to climb again, all the way to stage 5, identification. Suddenly, it's not about the pill anymore, it's about status. The weight loss secret of Hollywood insiders.
So how do you win in a market that's super sophisticated and noisy? You don't just shout louder. That never works. You have to cut through all of that static with something called a big idea. It's a single, unique,
powerful concept that literally stops someone in their tracks and makes them pay attention.
This quote from legendary marketer Bill Bonner just nails it. This is the exact reaction you're aiming for. A true big idea isn't just clever. It creates a physical, emotional reaction. It's a feeling of discovery, of stumbling onto something completely new and exciting.
So how can you tell if you've actually got a big idea? Well, it needs to hit 3 key notes in your customer's mind. First, they have to think, wow, this is totally new. Second, it has to feel incredibly personal, almost like you're reading their mail. This feels like it was made just for me. And third, it can't just be a sales pitch. It has to feel like genuinely useful, interesting information. Okay, this brings us to our final piece of the puzzle. And this idea comes from another marketing giant, Gary Benzavenga. He took all of Schwartz's ideas and added a crucial layer. The ad itself should be a product. It should provide real value long before anyone ever thinks about buying something.
Think about it. A typical sales ad looks and feels like a trap. It's trying to take something from you, your time, your attention, your money, and our brains are wired to put up a wall against that. But a valuable ad? It looks like an interesting article or a helpful guide. It gives you something first. It gives you an insight or a solution or even just entertainment. And by giving value, it earns the right to your attention.
There's a fantastic little analogy for this called the cheese and whiskers technique. Think about a mouse. A mouse sees whiskers sticking out from under a door, and it knows that's a cat, that's a trap. But if it sees a piece of cheese, that's a reward, it's valuable. Your ad has to be the cheese, not the whiskers. Always lead with the gift, not the trap.
So let's just quickly recap this entire mental model, because it's so powerful. First, you anchor everything to one single mass desire. Then, you figure out where your customer is on the awareness spectrum. You adapt your message based on the market sophistication level. You wrap that entire thing in one big idea, and finally, you make the ad itself valuable.
And this really brings us home. It all comes down to this one question. The next time you sit down to write an email, an ad, a presentation, anything, stop thinking about what you want to say and start by asking the question you see on the screen. What desire does my audience already have? Because the answer to that, well, that's where all great communication begins. Thanks for joining the Explainer.